make sure it's being captured. Okay. Okay. Let me just test something real quick to make sure both our audios are being captured. Like, gosh, sure. Alice, are you sure you want to take my guts out?
Huh. I'm not entirely sure. Yes, you know I do.
Oh, golly gosh. Hey everybody, Clover here. I'm here to interview the wonderful Lauren Synger, who you may know from her work on Bendy Machine and Bendy the Dark Revival, a hit indie game series where she just does wonderful performances. You can say she's quite a gal. So, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, awesome. So first question here is, you are best known in the Bendy community for your voice work and direction of voiceover artists. But something that not all fans call attention to is your musical side. La la la. You sang as Alice Angel in Chapter 3 of Bendy Machine. And even went on to give the character her own song later with Lonely Angel / I'll Be Your Angel, which I actually have in my Amazon Music library. I have all your songs in my Amazon Music library. And in Dark Revival, there's the amazing song Come What May. Was the plan always to use your musical talents for these games, or how did these songs come about?
Well, kind of ties back into my first conversation with the Meatly, which was how I became Alice Angel. So what ended up happening was I sent in my just a demo to him. And I'll go into a little bit later how this all came about, but I sent in a demo. And I wasn't sure, you do auditions, you send demos, you got to get used to hearing the word no or not hearing anything at all. Yeah. It happens. And so I had just come just out of a really bad situation where I had a character I had voiced for years in a game that went union, and I was not union at the time. And so the role was taken from me and given to another actor. And to me, there is just no greater pain than having something that you've earned and that you've done for years upon years taken from you and given to someone else.
That's actually really interesting, given like what the character becomes, Malice. Is that's part
it was used. The idea was definitely used.
Well, I mean, it worked really well, and it's good for an actress to have connection with her character.
It did. And the thing is, so when I sent off my audition, I wasn't expecting to hear anything. I was just kind of in a place where it's like I was almost ready to throw in the towel. It's just like, why am I even bothering? What's the point of even doing this? It's not like I wrote this whole email about my love for animation and how much I loved the character designs and how interested I was in Bendy, how much I wanted to be a part of it. That, in particular, Alice Angel, that I had seen her from Chapter 2, the poster on the wall that says she sings, she dances. And I said, I'd love to be a part of it. My nephew introduced me to this. Anything that he loves is something I want to be a part of. And I just wrote a very heartfelt letter. And I attached my demo and I went to send it off after like agonizing over my email to make sure like I got all the spelling checks and grammatical errors and everything. And then I was just like, what's the point? He's not even going to see it. He's probably not going to read it. He's not going to care. And, my husband told me, he said, you're not being fair. I understand that it happens, but you're not giving him the benefit of the doubt. You've never reached out to him before. Who knows? This could be different. Well, that was probably the best advice I had ever been given in my career, was just hit send. You already did the work. Just hit send. Yeah, and so I did. I hit send. And 3 weeks later, I had an email from the Meatly saying that they got my demo, they loved it, and they wanted to talk to me about a part. And so we set up a time to talk, and the Meatly and I spoke. We talked, I think it was like 3 hours that we talked. And he was telling me about the characters, and I was just like, as we're talking, I'm so inspired by your story, your characters, your ideas. I love this world. I love these characters. And, as you're talking, it's giving me ideas. Can I share them with you? And it was almost like relief in his voice. He's like, yes, please. So I started sharing some ideas with him, and then him and I started bouncing around ideas together. And that's kind of where it started. With the song specifically, going back to your
Mm-hmm.
question, I told him, I said, so I know on the poster it says she sings, she dances. I said, well, you don't want me to dance. I said, but it does say that she sings, and I sing. And he's like, you do? And I was like, yeah. And then I asked him, I said, so I really love this character. Um, and could I try writing a song for her? And he's like, you want to write a song for Alice Angel? And this was just after he told me, he's like, because what ended up happening, I'll rewind back a little bit. Right before that, he asked if he could send me a script because he wanted to hear my ideas for the voices.
Mm-hmm.
He gave me a lot of, we bounced a lot of ideas together. He let me have a lot of creative freedom. We talked about how, back in the day, old cartoons were done where you would have the animators working in like a round table with the voice actors, helping to develop the characters together. It was not the animations here and the voice actors are brought in later over here. It was a team effort to create these characters. Mel Blanc would sit in the room with the animators, with for Looney Tunes, and he would work on these characters with the animators and help give input and ideas and insights into, I think it's a little more like this, or I think it's a little more like that, or maybe the voice is higher or lower. So they would bounce ideas off each other.
Any influences taken from Betty Boop there, or
is what? I'm sorry.
Betty Boop. That's something I always saw in Alice Angel. Like, did he bring up any Betty Boop inspiration, or was that just
it kind of came about? It kind of came about just from us bouncing around ideas. It's definitely. I mean, you can see there's a Betty Boop resemblance, of course, but there's also, I think, with her, she's cute, but she's also, there's a little sexiness to her.
Yeah, it's true.
I wanted to bring in a little Marilyn Monroe. So especially to, that very high breathy kind of a voice that she has, just that soft little, I thought that would work because she's an angel. I thought that would work really well, with the angel for the angel voice.
That makes sense.
And then trying to figure out like, okay, so then we have this high, so then what would if there was a devil voice, what would that sound like? And so that's how we built out. That's how it started. Really, was these two voices, and it was really interesting to hear like how they do sound very different from each other.
But they also are used at the same time, almost like
when they overlap.
Yeah,
when you listen to it in the game,
she'll go back and forth, almost like she's struggling between being herself or who she's now is, and also Alice. Like especially when like it's like she made me.
Right. She went like in the first game where she says she made me do it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. It's like she's a struggle between like in these characters they have this struggle. A lot of them, especially if they're meant to be a specific character, but they were once a person. A lot of them were once people. With some exceptions, of course. But like, Susie has a struggle between being Susie, well, damaged Susie, but also being Alice. So she's almost like she has a hive mind. She's like a two beings. And she's always trying to
almost has like dual personalities, and it's like one takes over the other.
Exactly.
And the angel voice, I called it just in my brain. For me, it was the insane devil and the broken angel. And it's like we don't really know we only know what Susie sounds like from the recordings, who was voiced by Alana Lanier, who did a wonderful job
voicing she did,
Susie
definitely.
in the recording. She was awesome. But when you meet her in the game, it's like she's almost like stuck in the character. So it's like Toon Alice, to me, like when when I was reading the lines, Toon Alice's voice, it's like there was no Susie at that point. It was Susie doing Toon Alice, but Toon Alice at that point was crazy because of everything that she had been through.
Exactly.
So which was really interesting. And then for Lonely Angel, writing that song is it's when I wrote the song, people have thought like, oh, is it her love song to Bendy? Is it her love song to Boris? It's her.
It's just her. She's just lonely. She is
Well, it's her surrendering to her darkness inside of her.
Exactly. And like exactly like in like I'll be your angel and stuff like that. She's not really talking to anyone in particular, even though she does reference you devil and someone bringing out the darker side in her. It's less about her talking to someone who actually exists and more of one thing talking to herself, the part of herself that's now part of her. But also she's talking to this. I mean, I imagine part of it is that it's almost less like this is what I have now, but more of what I want. I want someone to help me. And I want someone to be there for me, but I don't. I have someone there for me, but it's almost like we're in the same trap.
And she's surrendering herself. Like initially, what we talked about was that it was almost a possession, because I don't know if you remember in the first game that there was, the whole demonic possession thing.
Yeah.
So initially the idea was that it was like a demonic possession and that this darkness was taking over her. But I actually like the fact that it's her.
Exactly.
It's this broken, dark part of herself that manifested in this world.
Yeah.
And that she is now like, that's everything that she would have wanted to be. So she is just succumbing to this thing that is probably, it's been promising her what she's been wanting.
She will be Alice Angel.
She'll be Alice Angel. She'll be perfect.
Exactly.
Not realizing what she has to do to become perfect. So
exactly. It's such a tragic thing, really. Because, Susie was a sweet, loving, kind person. Like Wally Franks will note that like she's always been good to him, even when other people aren't.
And that she was so excited and so passionate.
Exactly. And it's like
she fell in love with that character. She fell in love with her character.
And also, and you'll note
it was taken from her.
Exactly, and you'll note that like she was like she had a thing going with Sammy. That was the whole thing, but like. That was for her. That was almost like broken the moment that she was recasted without her notice.
He was part of the betrayal.
Yeah, exactly. And it's clear that Sammy liked her too and didn't want to do that. But Joey is the one who gets the final say. And Sammy was in a weird way for someone who talks so much about not being a sheep. He was a sheep to Joey and Bendy. He he didn't really stick up for himself or other people in that way. Like he ended up being his idea of awareness and epiphany and not being a sheep was more of following something. To him, people sticking up to them for themselves wasn't that. Anyway, yeah, just man, you all just did phenomenal performances, really.
Thank you.
Okay. Second question. This is kind of like this is basically mostly the same question for like as in how you got cast. But the next part of the same question is, had you known of the Bendy project beforehand? You said a little, but but you can expand on that if you'd like.
Sure. It was my nephew Liam. He actually introduced me through DA Games Build Our Machine.
Oh wow!
And he was sharing the video with me, and I was like, "This is really cool. What is this?" And then he looked at me. He was 9 at the time. And he's like, Bendy. So, because I'm the cool aunt, I'm supposed to know all the things. And so at the time, he was the one that introduced me. And I was just like, okay, well, can you share a little bit more about it with me? And so he shows me the game and he's playing through chapter 2. So, and I'm just riveted. I had never seen anything like this game. And I was just blown away. My jaw was just, as I'm watching him play, and it was just fascinating and creepy and in all the right ways.
And super artistic.
Yes. And so artistic. And the fact that you could tell it was just so different. And I loved the choice of the black and yellow, the black and yellow color scheme is just so cool.
It just looks like you're walking through a sketch, which is so perfect.
That's exactly what it looks like. And in chapter 2, there's the scene where there's a part of the game where Henry has to solve a puzzle. It's before the Sammy puzzle, which is my favorite puzzle in the game. I love that puzzle. It's such a cool puzzle. But before that, he's walking through these hallways, and there's a poster on the wall of this angel devil girl, and it says she sings, she dances, and it was love at first sight. I saw her, and I was just like, she is so cute. Who is she? And Liam's like, we don't know yet. Everybody's waiting. We think she's going to come out in chapter 3. People think she's going to be good. People think she's going to be bad. We're not sure. It's like, well, don't tell and a little column B. But you know, that was really cool when I saw that, and that's why I got so excited and why I wrote that letter.
Well,
was after having that experience of sharing this game with my nephew, who is just, you know, I adore him. He's like my son, you know. We're very close, and
awesome.
even though we're not close in in distance, we're just close in the heart.
That's
and
great.
We're always a part of always a part of each other. And it's just, when he shared that with me, I was just like, I have to figure out a way to be in this game.
Yeah,
like,
your nephew. Your nephew
is
changed your fate. He changed your fate. He was like your guardian angel, like little angel on your shoulder.
He was. Liam just, you know, just when he shared that game with me, I was just, it changed. It really did change everything.
Yeah.
And, you know, being a part, it's not very often as voice actors that we get to have the creative input. Most of the time we're brought in to do a voice. As I had mentioned before, it's like the artwork's already done. They already know what's happening in the story, in the game. So there's not anything to really build or create. And this was different. I mean, I've never had an experience like this where I worked with the creator to help develop this character.
I think it really helped. Sorry, I didn't interrupt. But I think it really helped that it was episodic. Like, I mean, it was an episodically created thing. And they also, like, they had the liberty as a game to, like, go back and redevelop things, because it was still, like, very beta.
And it wasn't even liberty. I mean, they made the decision that when a new chapter would come out, they would spend that entire night updating all the previous chapters so that everything across the board would be the same quality.
Exactly, and that's so perfect.
I mean, to start with 2 people and have 2 people dedicated to spend all night to do that for a game. I mean, yeah, I can't even imagine. Well, I
can't imagine, but that's because indie game developers are almost like saints.
They're amazing. Just amazing. And to have that kind of love for your project and for your community, you know, you just don't see that very often. It's pretty amazing.
You won't really see that from big corporations, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Like, even when Bendy had bugs, it's like I knew they were going to be fixed, or they were going to be patched or explained or something. But with a big game project from a big studio, usually they'll patch it out maybe eventually or something. But like when I see a bug in a big game, it doesn't feel like it's a thing of this is a game out of love and it's so they're working so hard, I can't blame them. Like with an indie game, it's kind of the opposite. It's kind of a thing of this is like a big corporate
you're a little more forgiving because you know it's a small
team with a small budget, and they're just working their hardest day and night.
This is a passion project, and they're not doing it for money because they don't even know if it is going to be money. They have no idea, you know, this, and that's one of the things that's so amazing is it's like this is just a passion project.
Exactly. I mean, Immediately has said that like chapter 1, he did not expect it to blow up. He just thought it was just a little experiment he could do.
Right. It was like an environmental test.
Exactly, and then just people loved it so much.
It was passed around to so many people, and they couldn't believe like how many people were so excited. When's chapter 2 coming out? When's chapter 2 coming out? And you know, he's a brilliant, enterprising kind of guy. So he's like, chapter 2 coming soon. And I do think that episodic approach really helped. Yeah.
I will say Dark Revival being episodic but not episodically released also helped that game a lot. I think being episodic helped
released all as one full game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Like the first game being episodic, like in terms of release schedule, helped it a lot, and how it developed its story and listened to feedback and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
and also kept people's attention online. Dark Revival as a sequel got to be super fleshed out and also coherent as one narrative and one story.
Right.
And just be a straight up follow up, because like at this point in time, going to Dark Revival, someone who's playing Bendy is not always someone who just started off when the first chapter was released. They might be someone who played it all as one complete experience. Like I did on the Switch. It's like a thing of and so when I go into Dark Revival, like I'm just expecting a complete game. I just want a complete coherent story, like I got the Bendy Machine. And so if Dark Revival, because of that, the advantage, not only did they get to flesh it out to be the best game it could be, just A to B, like start to finish, but also every chapter just felt seamlessly transferred to the next.
Yes, definitely.
And I thought that was really brilliant. Like the chapters were less about release, but more about just the story's format.
Exactly. It's how the story was told and how it connected.
Exactly. And I thought that was really good.
Oh, I definitely.
Anyway, three. This is one I really am interested in. You give the voice to three characters that are all Alice Angel, Twisted Alice or Malice, Allison, and Cartoon Alice. How did you manage to make these performances stand out from each other while also maintaining the obvious connection between the characters?
So I guess it kind of goes back to what Allison said, is that they're all pretty different on the inside. They might all look the same or look similar on the outside, but they're all very different.
That's true.
So I don't really think of it as they were the same person or there was a connection.
I just say they're the same mold, you know.
It was like the same mold, but with completely different beings inside that mold.
You're right. That's true.
And they're very different characters. Allison is she has the gravel in her voice, kind of like Twisted Alice or Malice. But it's more world weary as opposed to aggressive, as opposed to like a predator, just waiting before it snaps. It's a very different type of, it's almost like, when I thought about it, it kind of was like, oh, she's mean when she hasn't had her coffee. Kind of, she just kind of talks right here. Like, she's just kind of tired, but she's not going to give up. She's still going to do this. And she's going to,
always hope.
There's always hope. That's the thing she says.
That's her motif. Yeah.
That's her thing. That's her motif. Yes. And so it's a very different thing than Twisted Alice, who is very, she's self-serving. And then Cartoon Alice, as we had talked about a little bit before, it's like, Susie's ideal, like she loved Cartoon Alice, and that was taken from her. So it is, it's almost like there's that part of her. You don't really hear it quite as much in the second game, more in Dark Revival. You hear it more in Ink Machine, the differentiation between the two voices. But it's almost like she's doing the voice of the character, almost like she's stuck as that character. Like it's like she's kind of broken as that character, I guess would be
that's true.
The best way to put it.
It is noteworthy. I think it's noteworthy in Dark Revival that she's not doing the classic Alice voice as much, because in a way you can interpret that as, in the first game, she's struggling between the two sides of her, like the actual Alice she wants to be and the Alice she's becoming.
Yes. And
in the second game, it's like she's so far gone at that point. Like, I think it's even like Allison is trying to save her from herself. And it's like a thing of like, it's Malice or Twisted Alice or Susie, she's trying so hard to become that perfect Alice, that voice she sometimes does, that she's actually losing her ability to use it.
She's losing herself to herself.
Exactly. It's like, exactly. It's almost like what she's doing to achieve that perfection is making her lose it. And that's very interesting. Which is, and like, in the end, she figures out that, that perfect Alice is a part of her, regardless how she looks. It's our face, not, it's like,
I love that scene.
Oh my God.
That was a hard scene for me to do, because
it was so perfect.
It was hard. I had to take the day after, because it was almost like, in a way, saying goodbye to a friend. It's like Alice had been a part of my journey for so long, and since 2017. It's crazy. And all of a sudden, it's like, now she's finally getting, and here's the other thing. I don't know if you knew this, but we had talked about that idea of Alice Angel dying and basically getting her redemption from Allison. And, seeing her face, realizing it's the same face, and that, that she is beautiful. And so for her to she finally gets that redemption in her final moments is just like, I'm getting like chills and tears. It's just,
I got really emotional on it too. It really came through to me.
And I mean, the animation, wow, they just did such a good job
the subtle
visually
movements,
capturing that.
The subtle movements and her like kind of reaching out. before her
Yeah.
death, and like the holding,
Ugh.
the cradling. Like
Yeah.
they were like sisters in that moment, and that was so perfect.
Mm-hmm. They were.
And it is also so perfect because Allison was the actress that took the role from her. And it's like a thing of Susie always felt this almost like this rivalry or bitterness towards her, the actress that replaced her, but Allison
Right.
really felt so much pity and emotion for Susie. She felt bad for Susie. But by the time, and she didn't.
Originally, Allison didn't even know.
Exactly.
It's not like she knew that she had replaced her. So.
Yeah, heck, in this life, Allison doesn't know about her past life. Susie does, but Allison doesn't. That's something to note, that like Allison does not know she was once called Allison Pendle. Susie is someone who hasn't been able to let go of her past life, which is good in some ways and bad in others.
Mm-hmm.
Because she remembers she remembers who she is, but she also remembers what happened to her, and she's holding on to that.
And in Dark Revival, it's like, does she even remember? Like, we don't even really know.
That's
She's
true.
so far gone.
Yeah, she doesn't call herself Susie.
She
doesn't even call herself Susie in this game. She did in the first. That's something to note. Yeah.
There's the one part where there's the tea party, and she tells herself she starts. Mm-hmm. She starts going on a tangent about something like, I have an idea, and she's getting all excited as like cartoon Alice.
Yeah.
And then the Twisted Alice shuts her down. She's like, no.
Uh-huh.
That part cracked me up. It was so funny how she.
It's funny, but also kind of tragic, I guess.
Yeah.
Thing is,
but in that moment, it was just like, no.
What I'm hoping is that maybe, well, this is just a hope of mine, that like, because of the fact that this is like a cycle and they just reset the cycle again. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping maybe if Twisted Alice comes back, maybe she could get ink therapy or something.
Ink therapy.
But like, I don't know, but something, I don't know, like, but I don't know, maybe like, I don't know, maybe she like maybe like she'll actually be able to work through her problems in a potential sequel or something, or maybe a spinoff. I love an Alice-centered spinoff. Boris has a spinoff, Bendy has the band game. When are we getting an Alice game?
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
But
when's
like,
Alice gonna get
honestly, maybe I don't know. I have a lot of ideas for how an Alice game could go. Like thing is, I feel like an Alice focused game would actually be the best one to do for multiplayer, because there's already a 2 Alice dichotomy, or even a trio. Because I've actually been very vocal about the fact that I want Toon Alice to be manifested as well, just in her own separate way.
Yeah.
Because we already have a Toon Boris, multiple Toon Borises. We now have a Baby Benders, the Toon Bendy manifestation.
Baby Benders, yes.
But now, in which that's obviously like a whole Jekyll and Hyde thing going there. Spoilers, but I guess we already talked about the spoiler things for Alice. So, has there
been an announcement about that there's spoilers for both games in this interview?
I don't think so. I'll put a disclaimer at the beginning.
Okay.
I'll be like,
we don't want to ruin anything for you.
We don't want to ruin anything for you. Watch this interview later, please. I need the views. Just joking. But yeah, but play these games for yourself. They are so cool. I think they're on sale on Steam right now. Please give these indie people money. They are really cool and deserve the budget.
Support these awesome games. So
exactly.
we can make more of them.
Exactly. Exactly. But yeah, just Alice. Like, I want Toon Alice manifested in her own way a lot, really, because I think this isn't going to be established, like asked about in a later question. But fun thing, your voice for her is so perfect, but also, and you don't get to use it a lot. But also, it's like it's like, because we get manifestation of both already existing tunes, but they're the mute tunes. They're the non-speaking parts. I'd love to see a tune be able to actually talk to us in a way of like she, like, I love, because there's there are a lot of classic tunes that do speak, and she would be part of that. But also imagine a tune being able to address.
She's the vaudeville generation.
Exactly. Alice is closer to Bugs Bunny than that kind of generation than she is to something like Mickey. Like, she's a later tune. Like, she was a later creation. The point is, like, I'd love to see like a Toon Alice maybe actually be able to discuss what it's like to be. She's an inky manifestation creation like the other characters in other Toon, but like she's more related to being a cartoon than to a more biological creature. Like, where does that mindset come from? Does she speak and act just like how a cartoon would? Is she not able to address the more realism of the scenario? Or is she someone who has to like grapple with reality? Like, she has to balance being a toon and being someone who exists in the realish world. Like, how does she feel like being able to feel pain now? Can she feel pain? Like, would Anvil hurt now?
If it fell on her,
Yeah,
the
like
piano dropped down and fell on her.
yeah,
That hurt.
like
Yeah.
like I imagine like maybe like what I could see totally maybe an Alice spin-off, just saying, or just a new game in general. What I would like to see would maybe be like Alice becoming her own entity outside of the Malice, and the two almost working together. I'd love to see that. Like
that would be interesting.
I like to see that dynamic. Truly, like and like honestly, I was just saying, like an Alice trio game, multiplayer or not, would be honestly kind of like a story, maybe even just a novel or just show or I don't know something. I want to see these three interact. I want to see these two different Alices, like the person that took the role from her and the role she always wanted, helping Susie out. Them all supporting each other like a sisterly trio.
Like a sisterhood.
Yeah, exactly, a sisterhood. Like, I don't know, I feel like that'd be such a perfect dynamic, because I feel like, because, you know, they do have very different roles in Susie's life, and they also are kind of their own people that might need to work through some things themselves. Like, Allison is someone who doesn't remember who she is, has had to forge her own identity in a world that is so horrible.
She's just basically survival.
Yeah, she's a survivalist.
She's a survivalist. Like, that's all she's doing is surviving.
And all she has really, in terms of a connection that's consistent, is her wolf, which is her husband, but she doesn't remember that. And though I have a very sneaking suspicion.
Spoilers.
I know. We're gonna do spoilers, Kramer. But I mean, I will say that was established in the first game and the book. But I will say that Tom, I'm pretty sure he remembers. His Thomas Connor personality carries through completely, and he looks over Allison and looks after Allison like he would the wife he loved. Just the fact that he can't speak, he can't say, "Hey, I'm your husband. We were married. Your name is Allison Pendle." And that's kind of a horrible thing.
They protect each other.
Exactly. And it is kind of noteworthy that most Borises don't seem to remember who they were, but Tom does. Which is part of it is because he was a brilliant man who invented the machine. And he's also such a hardcore, hardened personality. But yeah, he and Allison have a great relationship, which is very noteworthy.
They do.
The fact that just kind of like, it's very interesting to me. It's also, it's just like, even in this second life of theirs, where only one of them remembers for the most part who she was, they still support each other and love each other nonetheless, even though it might not be romantic anymore, at least to one of them, but like, they still love each other, clearly. They're like a family. A lot of the characters in this game are like family. And like family is a very coherent theme in this franchise, with Joey and Audrey, spoilers, Henry and his wife, and his lovely family that we never get to see because Henry's not the real Henry, which is a very unfortunate, tragic thing. Spoilers for everybody again, but Allison,
we're gonna make spoiler announcements.
Allison, Allison feels like a sister to Twisted Alice, and Twisted Alice feels the same way by the end of her arc. There's all these different familial themes that are very important. Audrey takes on almost a sisterly role to the Ink Demon / Baby Benders at the same time, and
Allison.
Yeah, and Allison, and they're like this very dysfunctional family, but they're this the dysfunctional family where it kind of makes sense. They are all connected, mostly by this one man. And by the end, they're able to be like a puzzle piece, and with all this grief and horrible tragedy, they're able to stitch themselves back together again.
And the really beautiful thing about it too is that it all stems really from Allison's relationship with Joey.
Yeah, a lot of it does, because she was able to show this very flawed and hurt. She taught
him friendship and love.
Exactly.
And because Joey, of that, he wanted that in his life. That's what changed him.
She showed Joey
that's so beautiful.
Yeah, she showed Joey that he wasn't as horrible as he thought he was. Joey is someone who wants love. He's always wanted love. He's wanted love. He's wanted acceptance in his life. But he never knew how to communicate.
He did earlier on. I kind of get the feeling that he was just driven by power and
the thing is, I would say, like, if you've read, the Adrian Crest books, they're really good. If you haven't read, Delusional Living is really good, because that's Joey's memoir. And it really describes, even though it's his own words and he's kind of a liar, you can kind of tell where his motivation is in there and how he describes his dream, his motivation.
Yes,
it's not that he necessarily wants power or things over others. It's that he thinks that being powerful being successful is the only way for people to like him, to be accepted, to be seen as worthwhile. And so it's like a thing of his,
and it's also how he proves that he's worthwhile to himself.
Exactly. He's his whole life he's believed that if he's not the best, most successful, rich, like influential, iconic person in the world, if he's not the Walt Disney of this world, he's nothing. And he feels like if he's not the Walt Disney of this world, people won't love him. And like this, it's his, and like it's a thing of like he's confused these things so much, and it takes Allison to tell him that's not what you want.
And Allison, she sees something in him that no one else seems to see.
She sees that he's hurt. She sees that Joey himself sees himself as the bad guy in his own story. And Allison sees that. She sees a hurt boy, not a man, but a hurt boy that really just wants to love others. It wants to express that. He wants to love himself. But his whole life, he's striven for that in a way that has distanced himself from what he truly wants, and so that he's lying to himself. He's the greatest deceiver because he's even deceived himself.
Yeah.
But in like, I don't know, it's like, Bendy, the whole cast is like this broken family, but they're able to kind of by the end sort of come together.
Whether they want to or not.
Whether they want to or not, they're kind of stuck in this hell, so might as well get the most of it. And I mean, Audrey's whole thing by the end of the story is that she wants to make this world better for everybody, because they're stuck there, and they are family to her. She doesn't want them to live in pain.
And that she can make that world better for her loved ones, yep.
And the thing is that, like, a lot of takeaways, like, for example, it's like a thing of, like, the machine is built to do something very horrible, and very evil, and very twisted to these people. And, like, the thing is, at the end of, like, the second prequel novel, like, the, spoilers, the whole, like, the ending, like, line or whatever is, like, the whole, like, the machine, like, all these lost ones, like, it, like, has this hive mind saying, we finally get it now. You can't fix the machine, because you can't fix what's not broken. It's doing what it's intended to do. And that's the thing of like, that, like, it's almost like a very different thing. Like, just because we're born of darkness doesn't mean we belong to it. Everything, like, you always are free to choose. You're always free to choose. That's the whole big message. There's always hope. And Audrey chooses to make things better. She chooses to take something that's so hellish and so horrible and turn it into a home. That's what she wants to do with it. Now, that credit scene of Bendy Dark Revival means it might be a bit harder than it seems. But we'll see. We'll see what Gent is up to, I guess. I know. I just just so many great themes in that story, and you and the voice cast really bring that to life.
Oh, thank you. Everyone did such a great job. I can't get over how, like, the first time watching, like, I watched the game the first time, I played it the second time. And the reason I wanted to watch it was so that I could just take it in and not have to focus so much on surviving and trying not to die and repeating things. I just wanted to take it in. And I was just in tears with how good those performances were. Oh, yeah. I mean, it was just because, it's been so long since we had recorded those lines, and then to hear it all come to life was just, it was magic.
I mean, I know I'd be crying in the recording booth, to be honest. I mean, both because I'm a fanboy, but also because I'm just a voice actor who gets really into my roles, and I somehow always find a way to make a personal connection with one of my roles. So it's like, like a text to self connection. But so it's like, if like my character's hurt or having a great emotional resolution, it's like I would be tearing up after I'm done, because I always get the job done.
Right, absolutely.
Just whispering in the back of my mind, hire me. I'm joking. I'm not the kind of guy to beg for roles. I'm just the kind of guy to shoot my shot. Anyway, let's see here. Sorry. Oh, man, we have so many questions. Thing is, I'm going to skip a few that we've already kind of covered. What time is it anyway? It's almost 2. I'm so sorry.
Oh, really?
We've been talking a lot.
2 for you and
2 for me. 2 for me, 3 for me.
Wow.
Sorry.
I'm going to have to get going soon.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, let me skip the questions we've already kind of discussed. It's not your fault. I'm a blabber. I just have so much to say about this game. And, my interviews almost always turn into conversations. So, let's see here.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to skip the ones that we already sort of covered. So,
okay.
Okay, here's one. Bendy is a narrative well tied to the people who make cartoons. The voice actors were no different. Susie Campbell and Alison Pendle are both characters in the game that have some important roles to play in the story. How do you feel about how Bendy portrays the talents that brought the cartoon characters to life?
Well, I mean, I just Twisted Alice or Malice, whatever
Mm-hmm.
you want to call her, is just so tragic. She's
Mm-hmm.
so tragic. So I feel like the way that she's portrayed in the story is just like
Mm-hmm.
you kind of, it's like a little bit of a love hate, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you feel for her,
Mm-hmm.
but you also are just like, but she does such horrible things
Mm-hmm.
that it's hard to just be completely sympathetic
Yeah.
or empathetic to her.
She gutted my
um
B-boy.
and I feel, and with Allison, I mean, I feel like she, I feel like her story is told more in Dark Revival.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say that the scene that got me more than anything was the first time when you're walking through the city.
Mm-hmm.
Audrey's walking through the city with Bendy,
Mm-hmm.
and then you go into the building and Joey shows you the whole story of basically how you came to be.
That scene made
How
me cry.
Audrey.
That scene made me cry.
Oh, I bawled my eyes out. And
Me too.
and the thing is, to hear "Come What May"
Mm-hmm.
playing like as right before that scene, it just,
It's so powerful.
it got me. And I remember the Meatly told me, he's like, "I've got the perfect place for your song. I think you're going to be really happy." Because I'm like, end credits, end credits, end credits. No, no, no. But honestly, I love where it ended up, because I feel like the song "Come What May" is, yeah, it's sung by Allison. It's Allison's song, but it's, it, on the surface, it appears to be her love song to Tom, but it's also Joey's song to Audrey. And so it's really a song about anyone who loves someone and wants to protect them and be there no matter what, come what may.
Exactly.
Whether they're there, whether they're not, it's a song about loving someone and protecting someone no matter what. And and being their light in the darkness as well. Like, that's the whole feel of it, is like, be their light in the darkness.
Exactly. It's definitely noteworthy that Joey has connection to that song, especially because he's someone who sees himself as darkness, and part of his story with Allison is that he wanted to give Henry someone because he knew he couldn't be that person for him.
And that's why, like, writing that song, like, I wanted it to tie in to both Allison, but also to Joey and Audrey. I wanted it to kind of be cyclical for these characters.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a Allison and Audrey and Joey.
Yeah, it's a perfect song. I've listened to it a lot. It's great.
Oh, thank you.
You did a really good job of it.
Thank you so much.
Actually, before we move on to the next question, I do want to say, I actually, back in like late high school, for a theater class, like we had, one of the assignments was to like do a song, like perform a song, and I actually chose like "I'll Be Your Angel" / "Lonely Angel." Like, I even did a whole dance routine of it. There's no recording of it, but like that was something I wanted to do, and I did it.
So you're gonna drop it in the comments below, right? You're gonna put a link to the the video.
There's no recording, but maybe I'll do a reprise.
Oh, there you go.
Hey,
yeah, see that.
But
that's
yeah,
awesome.
I know we have a lot more questions, but I'm just gonna ask like two more before we do the outro. If you're fine with that, because like I don't want to, like, your time is not like a thing of I want to like take it up. I don't want to hog it.
Oh no. Thank you for being respectful. I appreciate it. Hey, no, it's a pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure, really.
Thank you.
It's so great. I know, like, just like as a voice actor, it's great to hear your perspective on these things. So here we go. What was it like to direct the voice actors in Dark Revival? That's an important question. You went from being a voice actress to not only that, but like the head honcho of the voice actors, to be honest, which is awesome.
Yeah. And it kind of surprised me. When I was entrusted, and I do consider it, a tremendous amount of trust. When the Meatly had asked me to be the voice director and basically to helm the voices for Dark Revival, I mean, decisions were made, but he made the decisions as to who got the role for what. But to be able to work with the actors, it was incredible. And it wasn't something, even though, I mean, I did direct I directed Boris in the Dark Survival as well.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. That was awesome. You did a really good job in that one.
Oh, thank you. And again, that wasn't something I was expecting. It kind of just happened at the time. And the other one too, even though it hasn't happened and hopefully it will, was it kind of started with Showdown Bandit.
Oh, Showdown Bandit! I loved the voice acting in that one.
That's where it started. So I was kind of, the director for Showdown Bandit was overwhelmed, and so he was like, I don't know the first thing about this. Can you do this? And it's like, okay, sure. So that's kind of where it all began. And then it was Dark Survival after that. And then after that, it was Dark Revival. And I just couldn't believe it. It's like, this is your baby. Like, this is your flagship. The fact that you're trusting me, it's a great honor. And I didn't know what to say other than, I'd love to.
Well, I think with how things turned out, I think that you gave it to the perfect person. So
thank you. That really means a lot to me. And it was, well, and it's a team effort. And that's what I've said all along, is that if I didn't have the level of talent that I had to work with in that game, it was a perfect storm that we could work together, and that it was a collaborative effort.
I agree.
We would bounce around ideas, and we would share our ideas and try different things. And so it was like, there was no right or wrong way to do something. It was just different interpretations.
I agree with that.
And a lot of time, when you're self-directing, a lot of times you don't know what's happening in the scene because you're not seeing the visuals. So it's like, how close are they? How loud is, like, what else is going on around them that might be making noise, And so you think about all these things, and it's like, okay, so let's try one that's like quiet and intimate and up close. And then let's try ones where they're shouting across to each other, and let's just try some different ideas. And that way I call it throwing spaghetti at a wall and seeing what sticks. And, that's the Meatley's decision and his artistic team's decision as to what sticks.
That makes sense.
But, yeah.
Yeah, I always do, like, multiple different takes for every line I do as a voice actor, even if, like...
Yep.
Because, like, if I'm, like, doing it in my own home or something, I can just instantly, like, throw it. And even when I'm, like, voice directing, I've done a bit of that recently for a school group project at my, like, media arts school, because we have, like, professional recording studios and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like a thing of, like, so, like, I was, like, having them each, like, do different takes just to see what clicked in my mind as that character I wrote. So, like, I definitely get that. And, well, I think he did a perfect job, because Bendy Machine had tremendous voice acting, but Bendy Dark Revival had perfect voice acting. And I think part of that is the direction.
And with Ink Machine, like, I self-directed for Alice. Like,
exactly.
We did it on our own. And when I recorded, I've said this before in, like, other live streams and things like that, but I lost my voice for 3 days because I did every line multiple times in both the angel voice and the devil voice, so that the Meatley could decide, like, which he'd rather use for what, like, what scene, what line, like, when is the angel going to, like, start to, like, pop out, and, like, take control for a minute and then lose control again. So there was a lot of yelling. If you've played, because Alice is such a shy, quiet kind of gal, no. So there was a lot of yelling and screaming.
Yeah. Both Alice voices are very eccentric, so.
Yes. And I actually think it's harder to scream in the angel voice than the devil voice, because it's such a soft voice that you have to, like, to push it and make that voice scream was like, what would that was hard to find that place and to be able to attack it and still have it sound like that character.
I felt like the "Ooh, I love Riddle," like when I heard the "Ooh, I love Riddles" line, I thought it was really perfect. But that was back in my head. I was like, as a voice actor, I felt like that hurt.
That actually wasn't too bad. It was more the first. Chapter 3 was the one that really killed me in Bendy and the Ink Machine.
Oh yeah, well I felt like those ones hurt the most, because that's more yelling. That's her.
She's screaming through all of that.
She's screaming in a lot of that. Like even like in Mouse's first line, "I'm Alice Angel," in the jump scare, or her yelling as she runs towards Henry. Like her yelling as she runs towards Henry before her.
I love her intro. It was such a perfect intro. It was so fun.
She's a great character. You did a great job of, like, all of Alice.
I love her. I love Allison. I love these characters. I do.
Again, I'm just going to reiterate. I hope Toon Alice gets time to shine as well, because I think like the little just
I
again
hope so too.
as little snippets you gave are really perfect for a Toon character like her. And the thing is, I feel like Alice, like the Toon Alice, is always kind of like, I mean, Bendy and Boris's tunes are always, you know, they're marketed a lot, and they'll be put in promotional material, or they'll like get their time to shine in shorts. Alice has not gotten a lot of that, but I feel like she could very much do that.
She was only in one short where she spoke.
Uh-huh.
She only had like 2 lines.
It'd be so I don't know. It's like even like shorts, or I don't know, like even her being manifested. Like that could be very much like a teaser dropper, like Baby Benders was to me. Like Alice, you know, or even
like we've done everybody else. Where's Alice?
You know, like I don't know. It's just like I don't know. Like maybe I'm biased because I feel like because I love to draw Bendy, but then actually I feel like Alice, like Toon Alice, is the most fun one for me to draw. Because she's almost like she's
a fun one.
She's very fun to draw. I think one thing, she's a bit hard for me to draw, but it's like a thing of she's mixing two very different toony things. Where like part of her is almost like anatomical in a way. Like, you know, she's like an hourglass shape and like has like these kind of normal legs, but then at the same time it's like but still stylized. But then her upper body is also very like toony for rubber hose arms and such. She's this weird balancing act that's so perfect between what makes a cartoon character very silly of that time, and also what what kind of cartoon characters at the time were seen as attractive. And it's a very interesting balance. Like what makes her look like she's a angelic character? What makes her feel like she's a bit devious and tomboyish? Like she's more than just a girl next door. And I don't know, the design's so perfect that way, and I want to see
it's a great design. I love that design.
Exactly, and I just, you know, I love that design. I love Alice's designs. I love all the designs. They're so perfect. But yeah, I'm probably gonna make this be the one last question before we do the outro. Okay. Just because, again, you know, want to respect your time. You and the other voiceover artists said in a recent live stream with Doug Ames that there were some times shared together where tears were shed. Would you mind sharing one of those experiences?
Sure. I'm gonna probably have to go with oh geez.
There's a lot to choose from.
Tears were shed with quite a few actors. Okay. I mean, I could talk. I think some of the most heartfelt and touching moments were probably with Erin Lane, who's the voice of Audrey.
Yeah.
There were some moments that we had that were just, I mean, I had a hard time, like when the scene where when you're in the tea party and Twisted Alice has you hooked up to the electric chair, and she is, if you get the puzzle wrong, she fries you. Erin and I talked about, like, what would it sound like if she was like screaming and getting fried? What would that sound like? And, you know, we wanted it to sound like absolutely painful, but also like when she's breathing afterward, you can hear like the electric currents almost like going through her, like,
oh yeah,
you know, it has a
yeah. I didn't get to experience that because I got the puzzle right first try.
Okay, well, you need to go back and get it.
I need to. I actually plan on achievement hunting in that game, so hey.
But it's when she was doing that, I mean, I was in pain hearing her. There were some moments, and I would say, like, working with her when it came to the pain that Audrey was going through, I was right there with her. And there were times, like, we almost had to have like a hug session because it was like it was a little traumatic. I mean, she was so good at just bringing that to life, and it was heartbreaking, but also beautifully done. And we would have to catch our breath, and it's like, okay, let's just have like a, you know, we'll have like just a minute, and we'll breathe, and then we'll take a break, we'll come back, and then we'll move on to the next scene. But it was just, I mean, there were some moments that were really hard. And then I think with everyone, I think one of the hardest things were the final lines for everybody. Recording the final lines for each actor. There was I had moments with everybody. I had moments with Sean, you know, the Ink Demon, Dave Rivas. Oh, that was brutal. But it was also, he made it hilarious at the same time. Because when we were recording his final lines, and, you know, and he had, you know, again, a little bit of a spoiler here, when the Ink Demon kills Joey, he again, the agony that he was portraying with his acting was just hard to take.
Mm-hmm.
But then he would break the moment and break the tension after he was done by putting on this like gangster voice, and he'd be like, "Yeah, Joey, he's dead. Joey's dead. What do you think of that? He's dead." And we were just cracking up. I mean, Dave is a character.
I noticed in live streams he's very much a character.
He's a character and a half, and so that I wanted to, just because yes, tears were shed, but it was also there were many tears of laughter when it came to Dave and Tim, Wilson. I mean, and Sean, same, just we would have moments where it was just, we would just laugh till we cried. And Aaron and I too. I mean, baby benders came out of us just pushing it too long and getting kind of loopy. And then when he gets electrocuted, when the baby benders gets electrocuted, like we were upset, but then it just became funny because we were getting really loopy. And it was just, we laughed till we cried. We're like, baby benders, no baby benders. So, I mean, it was such a joy.
Sean did a great. The thing is, I want to say that, like, at first, like, I've for years now, people have like said, "Oh, what if Ink Demon spoke?" And I've always actually was very against it. But then just Sean, nobody
could do it like Sean.
That voice was just so perfect. Like I immediately was sold, because not only did it sell the devilish, not only did it sell the monstrous or demonic side of Bendy, but a way it also showed that Frankenstein's monster side. The painful, like, he's a hurt creature that
tormented.
He's tormented. He hurts others because he was hurt so much, and he was born into a world that does not want him. And he's an abominated. In a way, he's kind of like Malice. He was made into something. He was made to be something, but he's broken. He isn't what he was meant to be.
And then in Dark Revival, tortured.
Yeah, exactly. And exactly, he was tortured and. It to be something that he's not. And it's interesting because Malice is someone who is doing everything in her power to be what she isn't. The Ink Demon wants to be everything he isn't. Well, I mean, everything that he wants. Like, he's meant to. He wants to go far away from his purpose as possible. He's doubling down. It's clear because of that experiment and torture that the real Bendy, well, not the real Bendy, but the cartoon Baby Benders is in him. That goodness, that purity, that heart is in him. But he's so tortured and afraid and scared inside and hurt that he doesn't want to be that, because he was created to be. It'd be like he was giving up. But in a way, he's happier as Baby Benders. But at the same time, he doesn't want to be. It's like he doesn't want to be happy. It's like he wants to push himself to his absolute brink because he's hurt. He doesn't want to give his abusers what they wanted. And that's And I felt like the voiceover did something so beautiful with that. You could, in every line of hatred and malice and monsterization, there was a hurt. And
it was almost like it hurt for him to talk.
Yeah, but that too. But I mean, like, by that moment where he's telling Audrey that you're a monster, your very existence was a terrible lie, you're a mistake, you're like me. That gave me chills, because that's like even before he said it, I could feel it. I could feel that he was just projecting. Well, he wasn't just projecting, but he was finding this relation with this person who's kind of his sister. He's
they're both creations.
They're both creations of Joey.
One was out of love, and the other one was out of power.
Yeah, Bendy was created to be something he wasn't, and he was disposed. He was locked in like a closet, and just because he was an abomination. Like, like they even say it in the early audio logs, like Joey is like it's very much established that like the Ink Demon wasn't like this super powerful monstrous being right away. He was just like a little weird guy just wandering around the halls with a big old grin.
He's a little weird guy.
He's just a weird looking like bendy creation that just wandered through the halls with a mute smile, like just being all curious, like a child. And you know what they do? They lock him up, and possibly like they put like that Ink Demon lair has all these television screens of the Bendy cartoons, and I've always thought like the Ink Demon would not want to be associated with that. His lair isn't just a lair; it's his prison. It's where he was forced to look at what he never could be. And I think that's a lot of themes in Bendy related to that, finding yourself and finding your place, or like understanding your past but not giving yourself up to it. Not giving yourself up to your darkness while also addressing it. And I think that's so perfect. There's so many great themes in those games, and I think you and the voice actors bring a lot of that light and to dark.
Oh, thank you. And on behalf of everyone else, thank you.
No problem.
It means a lot to all of us to know how much the work that we did means to you.
It does.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, anyway, before I stop recording, this was an episode of Clover Chats Interviews, whatever I'm going to call this, with Lauren Synger. Thank you so much for coming on.
Hi. Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah, this was a bit a long time in the making. I'm so glad it happened. I'm so glad.
I'm glad we were able to make
time
it happen.
In your schedule.
Sure.
I remember writing this down. Can one of the Alices of your choice just like give a little outro for my Clover Chats audience?
Oh, sure. I hope you enjoyed our time together, Clover. I'll always cherish
it. Golly gosh. That's okay. That's so perfect. Okay, that's a great note to end on.
Was that good?
Yeah. Yes. Thank you so much.